Hey, everybody, welcome back to another monthly guest interview. And this one's really special for me because I am so excited. My mentor, Paige Loehr, is who our guest is today. And so she's here. We actually live in the same city. We very easily could have gotten together for this, but we both are very fine with the setup that we have right now. She's at home in her home office. I'm at home in my home office. We're only 15 minutes away, maybe 18, depending on which stoplights you hit. Um,
Right.
but we have kids running around and this just worked. But I'm super excited for this community to hear from a woman that's been a mentor in my life for this will be the 10th year that Paige has been a mentor to me and a best friend. I've learned a lot from her. We've learned a lot from each other, definitely more me from her. But one thing I love about our relationship and the way that it's grown is it is mutually beneficial. So I know that today's conversation and what we're going to discuss with you guys is going to be something that brings a lot of value to you and your business. I've asked her to come and speak to this community specifically. Like we were talking about topics, and I'm like, well, I haven't titled this yet, but I know what I want Paige to bring to you guys, and what that is a message about this whole, in the social media world, the hustle and the grind game, the competing, the I gotta push content out. And you guys know, as members of this group, I want you to be consistent more than anything, but I really want you to own your message and really connect with your audience. And I learned a lot of that. I learned how to not really compare myself as an entrepreneur from Paige. I learned how to go from a hustle and grind, striving mindset to running both of our businesses that my husband and I have, this business with all of you in this community, and another one that I'm coached by Paige in, from a place of rest, but more than anything, like owning my identity in my business as just an individual. And I think that she's got so much to bring to you guys. So it might feel to you all that we're kind of bouncing, but we're gonna talk about Paige's journey as an entrepreneur, as an author, things she's seen, because Paige has been an entrepreneur for over 15 years, all of her adult life, from the moment she could vote or buy lottery tickets legally,
Right.
legally, right? Like she could have been listed, like since she's been a legit adult. She's been an entrepreneur and an author, and she brings a lot of perspective. So she's also seen a lot change in the entrepreneurial world from a marketing perspective. So I've given her free reign. This is my mentor coming into this community. And so I'm going to just set her up with, Paige, you can introduce yourself, take us back to the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey. And as I feel questions come up and be prompted, I'll ask them, but this is your group. So Paige, thanks so much for coming. Thank you.
Yes, I love it. I love to be able to have conversations. I'm not an expert by any means, and I don't claim to be an expert in any area of my life. That is first and foremost the most important thing you need to know about me. I'm willing and eager to learn in every area, and I feel like that's what keeps me in a place of growth. So I'm very excited about that. So all of these conversations help me sharpen me. So it's an honor, and I'm excited to share with you guys. The journey is, I think, step one and most important thing for me is, yeah, I'm an entrepreneur, and that's like sexy, and it's cool to be an entrepreneur. But I'm a creative, like first and foremost. That's who I am. That's how I flow best. This is important for you to hear that. That's how I flow best. I create. And then when you're a creative and you want to see growth from what it is that you're creating, then you step into an entrepreneurial journey, and that's kind of where you see me from the beginning. So I had a lot of things that I was kind of trying to dabble in, tap my feet into and see what stuck, and see what I don't know was going to be the best fit for me. And in my early 20s, I got access to a business opportunity that I was able to pursue. I was not necessarily business minded. I don't have a degree. I'm not college educated. I'm high school educated. I didn't have people skills. I didn't really care for people much. Lots of stuff in the background of my life that kind of led me to that place and that conclusion at that time. And ultimately, I just decided to pursue that opportunity just because I wanted to create financial freedom for myself. And I had to learn a lot. I had to grow a lot. I had to change a lot. And the reason why financial freedom was important to me, because back to who I am as a person, I'm a creative. And so creative people do not do well in a box, and we do not do well sitting behind a desk, at least not one that's not of our own design. Okay. And so, and I just knew very, very early on in my life that I was not going to be able to follow the traditional, go to work for 40 years and grind it out and then one day be able to earn your life. And so I knew that. And I just found I was eyes open, ears open for whatever opportunity would create some sort of financial, ease, alleviation, so that I could just live the life that I wanted to live. So in that, I was able to pursue being a business owner and all of the things that entails. You have to grow a business. You have to become business minded. You have to do the things that you need to do in order to grow a business. One of the top things for me was networking, learning how to connect with people, network with people. But I had to grow myself. Everything that I had to do in my business, like the prerequisite was like growing myself, challenging myself, stretching myself, getting out of my comfort zone. And being organized, which is hard for me. A lot of things that I had to learn and I had to figure out. And so that helped me grow in that season, in that time, but ultimately leading to the season where I would be able to step away from traditional employment, which was the goal. And I was able to accomplish that by the time I was 28. And then I stepped away from traditional employment, which just meant I no longer worked a day job while I was pursuing all of the other things that I wanted to pursue. But that provided me so much more time to be able to be myself and to be able to create in the flow. So thus, like, insert, now we begin my author journey, my journey as a published author, as a writer. And that is the vein that I want to be in most as a creative and as an entrepreneur. But I also throw in there speaking and all of that. And so I had published my first book when I was 19. And like I said, I got access to a business opportunity when I was 20. And so what did that look like? Just a real quick recap. I basically found out that there was going to be a lot of effort on my end, even though I had a publishing company that published my book, even though they were doing marketing, they were doing this, they were doing that. I realized how much effort was going to come in from me to be able to promote my book, promote myself, get the word out there, get the message out there. And I just didn't have the resources. So that was a huge part of that decision, once again, to be a business owner. So 19, and then I didn't publish my second book, which I would basically call my first real book in this journey of being an author. I didn't publish that until basically 10 years later. And if I was 19 and I thought that would be the case, like if I would have thought I won't publish again until I'm 19, I won't be ready, or until 10 years later, I won't be ready for another 10 years financially, personally, like that would have been an ungodly, concept. I would have freaked out by that. Because one of the, I think, huge themes that I feel like we need to hit on today is like the hustle culture, the grind culture, the rat race culture that teaches you that you're on a time crunch. If you're going to be successful, it has to happen right now. If you're not seeing success, you're doing something wrong. All of these mindsets and all these concepts, I had that like in me. And I had no idea the time that I needed to develop as a person, to develop my message, to develop authenticity in what I wanted to show the world. But I needed that time. And I'm so thankful for that time because, hindsight, you look back at all of it and it's all worth it. It all makes sense. And so I always say, like, I became my first book. And it took time to step into that. And then once I was ready, and everything felt right. So that's like the background that I think is important for you guys to understand in this group. So you just really understand who I am as a business owner. I'm first and foremost a creative, and then business ownership was something that I needed in order to be able to be a creative and live that out in my life, truly, full time. So that's where I'm at. That's where I sit at today. I think it is interesting. You know, me and Danielle have an awesome relationship, and there's a lot in it, right? We are friends. We are spiritually joined together. We, you know, business wise, but in a lot of ways, like she definitely teaches me a lot. And she's helped me go through my journey. You know, we worked as, you know, I'm her mentor, right? And um, but then I step into the season of being an author, and I needed her help a lot. I needed some direction, some guidance. But more than anything, you know, sometimes it's just nice to have a third party perspective tell you like, this is what I'm seeing, and help you kind of just figure out all the mess. And so, you know, we started that when I was about ready to publish my first book. And I was starting the nonprofit. We were creating this women's event, which was really powerful to the Kansas City community right before COVID, you know, right before events got shut down. So we were creating all of this, and she was in my corner the whole time, helping me to figure out what my presence was going to look like on social media. And she knows, like, I am very particular about the way I'm presented, and I'm very particular about not being like everyone else. Um, I'm not unique for the sake of being unique because it makes me feel good. I'm just different. I'm kind of in a lot of ways countercultural. I'm the first person that's going to question things, not to be and a jerk, but like I have my own thoughts, and I have an idea of how things should be for me. And so I challenge things, and the perfect part about, you know, our relationship is that she can challenge me right back. So, you know, here I am figuring out certain things with social media and how to market myself and my business and my books. And her voice is like always in the background, you know, so she's talking to you guys a lot about consistency. I'm like, I don't think you need to be consistent. And she's like, okay, Paige, there's a lot that you get to challenge, and there's a lot that you end up right about, but this is not one of them. Like, you have to show up, you have to be consistent. And so I hear her voice in a lot of the background of what I do, as I'm sure you guys will if you don't are already. But that's the beautiful thing about this, is that I know so much of like the foundation I'm using for my presence right now on social media is from what I've been taught and what she's helped me to do and create. So that's where we're at today. Hope that was anything else, anything I'm missing that's major.
No, but I love it because we talk about consistency, but this is something like I'd rather you be consistent with content that is true to who you are, your messaging, right, and your audience, like you even talked about. Like, you became your first book, but you also said, I took time to develop my message and my authenticity. And you can be consistent with posting a bunch of generic stuff, right? Yeah. What's actually going to really connect with your ideal client or the audience you're trying to reach with your message has to come from a deeper place. And a lot of times that can't just be copied from somebody else's post idea. It has to come from within. And so there's this very unique relationship between consistency and authenticity with what it is that you are creating. And that's where I think with Paige's thought process, her don't be like the rest of them, darling mentality that she has, but also like challenging the consistency aspect. We saw this beautiful blend, because there were seasons in your, you know, over the last, let's say 5 years or so, 5 or 6 years with this journey, where there were times when you felt pressure from the outside to perform, but where you flowed the best was when you honored this place of, I know I need to put stuff out regularly, but I will not do it from a place of artificial fabrication. It has to come from within.
Right.
And that's what I want my members of this community, that's what I want you to really own the most, because when you can tap into the internal source of that message,
Right.
that place where you could be a chiropractor or work in a chiropractic office and you're doing their social media, there's a deeper reason why the owner of that company or why your company as a whole provides the services that you do. Life,
Right.
I have a few of you in here. It's like, there's a reason why you are taking this path as an entrepreneur. That's what needs to come out. And the culture of social media marketing, the hustle and grind will rush you through that process of your messaging. Yeah. And then you put out content that doesn't land and doesn't hit home all the time. You're just putting out a bunch of content. So it is this balance. Yes, be consistent. But I think what a lot of times we rush through is developing the message, being willing to take the time. So do you want to dive a little bit, maybe just dive a little bit deeper into that right there, that I took time to develop my message and my authenticity, because I really want the group to hear that. That's not something that you'll see on a carousel slide from a social media guru. They're going to talk to you about the same thing I post sometimes, tips and how to get some, good traction. But the deep-rooted work while you're in this community is so that you can truly be social, not just put a bunch of.
Right. Well, one thing I want to say, like, you do not have to follow the trend in your current sphere in order to be successful. Like, okay, I'm an author. I don't have to follow what other authors are doing in order to succeed, in order to gain traction or attention. It's very important because, like, especially as a Christian author, it's like what I find is a lot of people end up taking their gift or their talent and then trying to, like, really, really write it into a profit like machine. And that is fine if it's about your work. I hop on social media and it's like, oh, you have a book in you, right? 10 easy steps to writing a book, or take my course and finish your book, or do this and do that. And all the while I feel like, the Holy Spirit is really, really left out. And so that's me, and that's on my faith journey. Right. But what I'm saying is you got this product and this person and who you are, but the authenticity is stripped from it because the desire to create an income with it is first and foremost. And so, yeah, I respect you as an author, but now I don't even, like, I'm so pulled back from you because you're so money first, business first, this first, right? And so I don't even know who you are as an author. What you present overshadows your work. And then I'm not even interested, so, like, these people presenting themselves, they're taking away their authenticity. And I don't know that they know that they're doing it, and they might be making money right now, but long term, you cannot ride that forever. People want to know who you are. I think I was just thinking yesterday that I love who I am on social media, because as I continue to grow, I think people are going to read my books. They're going to come follow me on social media, and they're not going to get, this is author Paige. This is all she thinks about, all she does. She wants you to read her books. She wants you to buy her books. She wants you to, learn how to publish a book. No, they're going to come and say, oh my gosh, I think I know her now. I feel like I know her a little bit better. There is nothing, like, if you think about it, there's like the celebrity in every genre these days. But when you're growing up or you have a hero, there is something about, like, just wishing you knew what their life looked like a little bit. Because if you can relate to them, then you can actually feel tethered, because their human element comes out. And so for me, when I began this journey, I would look at social media and I would tell Danielle, like, I cannot do what these other people are doing. It was like this whitewashed, perfect version of social media. I can't show up every day on social media with makeup on. Sometimes I do, and I feel great and I look great and I love it and I'm happy and I'm like, ooh, look at me. But sometimes I show up with bed hair and no makeup. And that had to be the case. I could not commit to being perfect all the time. I couldn't commit to being so on all the time. Sometimes I wanted to talk about silly crap. Sometimes I wanted to talk about what was on my heart, what was on my mind, and what was on my spirit. But sometimes I wanted to get on and talk about how my husband was annoying me, or how he, can't do this. He's not a handyman. And I just wanted to invite people into my life. And what's crazy is like the getting on social media and talking about how my husband is not a handyman and going around the house and showing the broken things in my house literally was my first viral post.
What was the second one, Paige? Do you remember our second one from our national?
The second one was another really authentic, like, hey, let's tease our husbands and record it and put it online because I think it's funny. It's like stuff that I think is funny. Yep. My personality. And let's redo this because this is hilarious. And so yeah, I just remember, and it was like, okay, Danielle, this is what I know for a fact that I need to be present on social media. There are, what's great when people don't have to have a social media presence because they have a platform that they jumped off of. That was not their own, but it was someone else's. It's like, congratulations, good for you. But a lot of you guys are like me. We're starting in grassroots. We have to create for ourselves. And I could compare myself to the celebrity Christian author, and that would be unfair. It's like a lot of them have these platforms that were their start. They knew someone in ministry. Their father was in ministry. Their mother was in ministry. It's like these connections that allowed them to have a platform to jump off of. Well, if you don't have that, first of all, it's like you can create it. You can do it yourself. And that's another position of power, but you can't compare yourselves to those people either. Because if so-and-so hopped on social media and they started with an audience of 10,000 people because of who they were or what their name was, well, that's not fair. So why are you comparing yourself? So that's a lot of what I was doing. I was saying, like, I just don't think I can show up like these people. I don't have this perfect life. I don't have all these people helping me with social media. So I can't do X, Y, and Z. And, Danielle's number one advice was like, okay, well, let's look for your messaging. Yeah. Let's find your messaging. Let's find what feels right to you. But we just want to be consistent. And while you find that, it's okay to be consistent and still post and still show up, but like, know that you'll find it. And I'm still like in that groove. I'm still in that place of like, I know some things that work, but I'm still finding out what is going to be the thing that gets people to see the best. And so all of this time, it goes from like, you want your social media to look perfect. And now it's not, I don't even know what it looks like, to be honest. Like, I know what I'm creating, but very, very rarely do I go and look at my page and think like, oh, is this aesthetically pleasing? Like, I used to stress out about that. And now I'm just creating based off of what feels right to me. So I had to get rid of that hustle and grind mindset of like, I've got to do to perform, to keep up with the people that are in my genre. And it was just not going to work. Most of those people, what's sad, and this is another thing that I've talked to Danielle about, is most of those people you can't even reach. It's not even them on their social media. And there is something about that really grinds me. And it's not being available. Now, I can't be available to everyone, but I can be available. I can pick time frames and I can be present. So if somebody reaches out to me on social media, and Danielle knows this, that my goal is that that's never some automated response or somebody else responding back for me. And if I'm getting too big to just be able to, at some point in my life, in my calendar, maybe it's a weekly basis or a monthly basis, get back to people, then I've got too much.
Yep.
because I'm trying to actually serve my community. I'm trying to actually be authentic. I don't want to be a machine. I don't want to be a robot. I don't want to be a part of the system that people are stuck in. And if I am saying I'm authentic, saying I'm this, I'm going to help you write your book. But when you reach out to me, you can't even reach me. That's so not authentic.
Yep.
So I had to get rid of the hustle and grind. I think one of the biggest things is knowing your value and being bold in that. It's so powerful for me when I know my value and I'm bold about it. And that doesn't mean that doesn't mean saying like, hey, if you read my book, I am going to help you and I am going to heal you. And it's the best book out there. There's nothing better. No, it means like, I know who I am. I know how valuable I am by just being present. Okay. So if they do buy my book and they do read my books, it's going to help them. But I present my value regardless. Who I am as a person and how I show up is the value. And so I am bold in that. And then if they connect with me enough, like me enough, if they see that I'm real and authentic, they're more likely to, oh, this is a video that she just posted and it looks like different than what her normal stuff is. Let me watch that. And then they're like, wow, okay, I really like that. I really like her. So it's like the trail that I lead people down on is like, this is who I am. I am real and I have value in just being real and being authentic, being funny, being silly, being crazy. But then at the end of the day, then there's this other content. So people like me, fall in love with me, and then they want to know what my message is.
Yep.
So how much of like your content is just about your message, your message, your message, your message, your message? And how much is it about you? Because I know for me, like, I don't care about somebody's message if I don't know who they are, if I don't know what they bring to the table, because you can be an expert in your field, but if I don't like you, I don't want to listen to you. So I think it's important to show up with that, be bold in the value that you have just as a person.
Yeah.
I love your career field. Super proud of you. Whatever it is that you're doing, that's awesome. Cool. But like, who are you? And that's how, if you think that's just me saying that, I'm telling you, I think from a perspective of a consumer all the time so that I can provide best to consumers. And that's what consumers think. Who are you? If you think about it in terms of, okay, so, oh gosh, I don't want to butcher her name. I don't know her name. So like, I'm not going to try to guess, but she is a like, 40s, 50s Black woman who is like a cook, and her line just came out at Target, and it's like cookbooks, but also like clothing and all this kind of stuff. I don't know her name. And some of you might be like, oh my gosh, I know exactly who you're talking about. So she showed up with a presence on social media, and a lot of people like even had like in reels, her original audios is the background. She's like sweet Southern lady, and she has this like culture that's just so present. She's just so vibrant and so herself. And she went from just being that, doing that, sharing that, to all of a sudden now she has her own line in Target, and she's doing well for herself financially. And it was just because she just was herself. And I need to go like, now I'm going to, go look more into it, because that's a horrible example when you don't know the name. But I was just thinking about that because I was inspired by her. Like, I loved that. I knew for a fact she didn't start on the journey of like, I need to be in Target.
Yeah.
She just started on her journey of like, I want to show people who I am, what I do, what I'm good at. And I'm pretty sure her like the catch was that she does like a lot of vegan stuff, and cooks that way. So anyways, but the consistency and authenticity is huge, and it works for me in seasons too. So like, almost 4 months ago, I had a baby, and in that season, like, I was not in book promotion mode, but I showed up consistently on my social media. And to a lot of people, it's like, well, this is your business page. And it's like, yeah, but everything is sales, right? And the number one thing you're selling is yourself.
Always.
So if I'm in a season where I don't want to talk, if you don't hear this, then if you're in your genre and there's not days where you're like, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about my business. I don't want to talk about my books. Like I was in that season because I was tired. I was worn out. I was about to have another baby, or I just had another baby. And so I paid attention to social media trends, and I just showed up still for my audience, but as a mother.
Yeah.
And it was like a couple months. Truly, it was a couple months where I didn't really talk about my books. Like maybe a couple people shared, like I'm reading this book, and they posted a picture and I reshared it. But like I didn't really talk about my books.
Mhm.
And what's crazy is there's books bought. My books are bought almost every day. And it's so cool. And it's like, why? Well, because I just continue to show up. And when people are like, I like her messaging. I even like her messaging as a mother. Oh, she's an author. Oh, that's cool. And that's the flow that people find you on. So like I have a post that's, I don't know if it's considered viral. It has like 660,000 views. Is that viral? So it leads to new follows almost every single day.
That's when it's viral. It's not only the view count, but it's like it's an eternal type of post. You're going to get followers, likes. Yeah, that's when
Yep.
you qualify it as viral. Yep.
And it's just about the way I see, my children. Like I'm the mom that's, obsessive, and I hold my babies, and it's literally about holding your babies, and you can't hold your babies too much. And that's it. And people follow me every day because of it. Some people unfollow me because they're like, oh, she's a Christian, and that's great. Like that's what it's meant for. But then some people are like, oh, she's a Christian too. Oh, she's an author. She's written a book. Wonder if she's like, and that's how people are.
Sure.
If you've never done a deep dive on somebody's social media, like, are you even a person? And so when people like you, they like your content. They're going to find out about your business, and they're going to want to support you. They're going to want to be a part of that too. And so yeah, that's kind of just where I'm at right now. And it's nice. It's a flow. I find out like what I like. One of the easiest ways for me to create content is when I'm on social media, when I'm on reels, what speaks to me? What do I like? And sometimes it is, okay, taking an idea and making it your own, and that's okay. Um, and that's kind of where I'm at. And then I feel like in that vein, I just started to find some things that I liked, that I always wanted to present, that does lead back to my writing, and who I am there. I just had a speaking engagement last week, and it was 100% somebody followed me on social media, started following my content, liked who I was, sent me a message, was like, do you do any public speaking? And I was like, yes. And there you go. So yeah.
So there's a little bit of a theme, and I wrote in big bold letters, your personality. I put my personality, but you said my personality, but it's your personality. And okay, it's like the chicken and the egg. Do you create your content from a place of you are showcasing who you are with your personality, or do you create it with the consumer in mind? Because you said both things, right? You talked about, I think like a consumer because I am one. So I think about what people need, what they like, what they're into. So a lot of times in social media, we want to lead with that.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think is what comes first, that thought process, or really owning who you are, the value that you bring? Because it's taught a lot of times, identify your ideal customer, who they are, what their pain points are, right? I even teach this, but I take it the layer deeper or before of like, what's your message? So what have you seen for you? What comes first, the personality and owning your value, or thinking about the end user, the consumer?
Well, I think, when I thought about like customer profiles, I think it's important to have somewhat of an idea of what you're speaking to. And so like, once again, Danielle's voice is in the back of my head. Like think about that, create those customer profiles, and then, but for me, it was like create customer profiles, but don't be limited in it, you know? And I know like once I kind of, represented that and you're like, yeah, absolutely. Like you don't have to just create one, you can create multiple. Because for me, like when I first published The Roots in a Woman, I mean, I got people my mom's age in their 60s and 70s like providing me feedback from my book and how no one's ever talked about things and they're healing from things. And I'm like, I don't think a woman in her 60s was going to be on my customer profile list because I was limiting my mindset. So I had to expand that. I had to just create as many as I could so that I could be thinking about all the people. And so I think I do that more in terms of when I create my product, but not how I present myself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I create my product with all these people in mind so that I don't limit myself, so that I write with a thought that this is not just for, the woman in her mid 30s who has multiple kids, who's tired and stressed out. And like I want to create for her, but I want to create for all of these other people. But then how I show up on social media, I think about the consumer and me. And how I do that is I find out what speaks to me. So this is what I found out recently. People like poetry. It's like, what? How did I figure that out? Because people started posting reels with poetry. And I was like, I love that. So I'm thinking about a consumer because I'm the consumer. I'm the person that saw the reel with poetry on it. And I was like, what? Like, this is cool. I love this. And it was like, I write poetry. It's my first love. It's the number one thing I want to do. Those two places collided. So when I feel the most authentic in what I'm presenting, it's when I, as a consumer, see things that I also love, that I am, that I present, that I do, and then I can put them together. So like, oh, you're going to, and what was crazy, what's funny to me is like some of these people are just putting poetry with audio on it and a beautiful background, and none of it is their original content.
Yeah.
And I've got video footage, I've got audio, but then most importantly, I've got a lot of poetry that I actually wrote myself. And wow. And then it was like all of a sudden, and this just happened to me last week. I was like, this is something that I can do consistently. So let's just say I want to post silly, funny, mothering stuff just in my everyday life. Okay. And that keeps me present. But I can show up as an author once a week with poetry. And so I found something that I can be consistent in. I can be myself, just be Paige, but I can show up as an author at least once a week by posting poetry, and people like it. Right. So then also like, one of the things that you taught me a long time ago and I've just always held on to is like finding out things that I can boost, what do people like? So it's like, if I post something and it got a lot of traction, then I can also boost it as a business owner thinking people liked this in my current network. So I'm sure people will like that out and outside. And finding what that is and looking for that. And if it can be based off of like less based off of just your personal stuff and more based off of the stuff geared towards your business or who you are, what you're trying to present. I think doing that is important, but I think they both meet. I think about the consumers and I think about myself and how do they meet that. It's like, that's what I have, like, that's what has to work for me. I can't do one or the other because then that just feels like I don't want to just show up as myself because with nothing, no goal in mind, no, because then I just feel like I'm spinning my wheels and wasting my time. I don't love social media that much. So then it meets with like, but the consumer likes this that I like. So like, let's do that. And like, you have to find that for you and what works for you. But, you have to be patient with it. It takes time.
I feel like for myself and what I've seen in a lot of people that I coach is it's easy to fall back into the grind mindset when you're not creating content that you enjoy, because it
Yeah.
feels like work, and then you
Yeah.
don't want to do it. And
Yeah.
that's what the grind, a lot of times, it's that's what they're glorifying, is
Right.
work, 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 work. And it's like, but are you enjoying your work, or are
Right.
you gonna burn out? Because
Right.
you usually see people in grind mindset, they can't sustain that,
Yeah.
because they're pouring from an empty well.
Right.
And I think that's why this balance that we're talking about today is so important, because when you are, it's like I talked about at the beginning, when you're tapping into an internal place of who you are, you're like, what it is that you are bringing with your message, which ultimately is what you're bringing through with your business, that can be never, that should be never ending, right?
Right.
I think we get hung up when we slip back into, and so then you're creating content from a place of ease, flow,
Right.
rest. I mean, shoot, Paige, I've seen you go on it for a week or two with a lot of content because you're just flowing.
Right.
But it wasn't from a, I'm doing this because I'm in launch mode. It was like,
Oh,
the well is bursting and I've
yeah.
just got to get this out, right?
Yeah.
And you don't trust Instagram drafts sometimes, so you just really post it when it comes to you, because sometimes those things delete.
No, seriously. Or just like, how about this? Real mom mode. I had some time,
Yep.
and I had some things saved up or ideas ready because I'd pay attention and I know what I like. And I'm like, oh, I like that audio. I can definitely do something with that. And I either write it down in my notes on my phone, or I just know I can remember it because of the video that I saw, and how I'm going to spin it for myself. And because I have so much of that, like, in a week to week basis, that when I get a couple hours, then I'm like, okay, let me create some of this content. And sometimes I push several things out at once. And sometimes I, try to trust the reels, save the video. You just taught me that. But here's the thing, like, I just don't worry about, like, okay, well, I've got 2 videos. Well, I should post this one at this time at this, and all that kind of stuff can be important. And you can pay attention to it. But if you don't, like, if you are maxed out right now, a lot of people feel like it's all or nothing. I think there's a day, this is my belief. Each and every one of you, if this is what you want, at some point can have somebody, you bring your authentic message, but you can have somebody that pays attention to the details for you. Okay. And when you can get to that place, then they'll push it out for you. Or if you're a detailed person and you can pay attention to the details now, that's great. I'm not, that's not me. Okay. So for right now, I just post when I can, when it makes sense. And I just kind of trust that my audience is similar to me. So they're live at similar times. It's like the Sundays before work, and people are kind of just unwinding from the weekend, and they're going to start their week, whether they have to go to work or they're just going to start their week, with their kids and off to school and all the things. And so they're just like, okay, well, here I am. And they're on their phone and they're looking at social media, trying to unwind. And it's like, okay, it's typically a pretty good time. I know. Like, so I just think about, that's when I think a lot about my consumer, my customer or whatever. And think about the times when it makes sense. And you can look all that up, the analytics, I hate that crap. But it is important. And, but don't stress yourself out about it. People burn themselves out and then they quit. It's like, if I worry too much about that, then I just won't do it.
Yep.
So if you're that person, then don't, and just do it. Yeah. It's better to show up, like Danielle says, consistently than not at all, because you've stressed yourself out.
Yeah. Once a week, commit to it. Just make a commitment and honor it, but do it in a way that, you can back it up every week. Okay. Yeah. Not rapid fire, but I just thought these could potentially be short answers. Maybe not, because you and I, we're not short people. What do you think keeps somebody from being able to fully tap into their authenticity and personality?
Self-doubt.
All right, let's talk about that.
What does that look
like? Identify it. How does self-doubt show up for someone, so that people can identify with it first? Because they might not know. Like, I didn't know recently that mom guilt was the thing that I was dealing with, because I hadn't
Oh yeah. And that
Oh
was
my
crazy. Like
gosh, that's what that is.
when we had that conversation, I was like, Danielle, like really that like and then not like in a bad way. Like, I can't believe you didn't know that that's what it was. And now I'm thinking of how many years you have had dealt with that unnecessarily because it's just a quirk that moms have that you just have to push aside. Sometimes you got to listen to it when you're being, it's like if you're on your phone and your kid's right there and you're like, what am I doing? That's like healthy mom guilt, like be present, right? But like, the mom guilt that's just irrational, like crazy. But self-doubt. Okay, so it's just like I'm not good enough. Like I'm not good enough. So self-doubt for me as an author could be I'm not good enough. I'm not as talented as these other authors. I'm not as organized as these other authors. I'll never be as like my writing will never be as powerful or as um what is the word I'm looking for, as effective as them. Like I'm not as effective as them. So like I know there's a couple chiropractors in your group, so it's like you could think about people in your industry that are killing it. It's like, I'm not as good of a doctor as them. I'm not as good at of like my practice is not as well known, my like all of these things that you feel as self-doubt, so you reserve, you pull back, and you're like, I'll never get there, so like it's self-protection mode of like, I just got to pull back. And self-doubt is I just recorded the audiobook for The Roots in a Woman, and I think that was the chapter that I would like flowed in the most. Like I was just reading it and it felt so good because it's so true.
Literally just pulled up your table of contents while you're
Yeah,
talking because I'm like, this is going down the path. Here we go.
it's so good because it was so real to me and so true to me. And I had limited myself so much because of my lack of education, because of the family I came from, because the things that were fearful to me, and the things that I'm not good at. Like I'm not organized. I'm just not I'm not a numbers person. I'm not business minded when it comes to all of that. So like I just didn't like I had so much doubt in myself. But the wicked part about that is like, but I have so much belief in myself too. So it was like these two crazy people in my head, at war constantly. It's like, you're good though. So then what is that dialogue? It's like those limiting beliefs. So like check that and check it constantly, check it every day, because that will keep you from, the person in you that is like, but I am good. Like I am that good. Like I'm pretty cool. Like people are going to like me. Like that voice is there too. Try to listen to that more, drown it out, and lean in to that place. And that's how you can show up authentic.
That's so good. So I pulled up the table of contents for Roots in a Woman because as you're talking, I'm thinking about, yes, in entrepreneurship, yes, in the world of business, there's a lot that can hold people back from fully being able to step into all that I believe God has for them in their endeavors. And a lot of it is roots, right? This is the thing, like social media marketing for your business is such a silly thing, but it's the thing that you end up getting the most visibility. So we think about it a lot.
Right.
Don't see enough entrepreneurs fully showing up as themselves. And I have always, not always, since reading Roots in a Woman, I have seen this book is a spiritual, right, and a emotional and a mental key to freedom in my life. But I see so much of these chapter titles, which I'll read a few off, that connect with the entrepreneur wanting to market their business online,
Right.
that hold them back. So this was not planned, but this is a plug for The Roots in the Woman, Paige's first book, because I think a lot of who we are as entrepreneurs, and like Paige said, people will buy from you. That's the other thing. That's a huge shift in the last 10 to 15 years, especially in the digital world. Your features and benefits, here we go. My features and benefits of my social media marketing community, social society, the features and benefits are no different than 5 other people that I know have membership communities. I know that for a fact because I built my community deliverables based on that.
Yeah.
But in my community, you get me and my
Right.
network, my guest speakers, and those communities, you get them, right? But I can't be all that I'm supposed to be for each one of my members or in my agency side. I can't be all of that if I have these entanglements. I can't.
Right.
So let's
Right.
talk about a couple of these chapters that I think can relate to the entrepreneur that's creating their own social media content. I do believe that bitterness is a huge one that will keep people from being able to receive
Yeah.
all they should have in their business. Comparison, envy,
Hmm.
and jealousy,
Hmm.
approval addiction, control, fear, trust issues,
Hmm.
pride, anxiety, copying, attention seeking, self-neglect, narcissism, and
Yeah.
self-doubt. All of those, and that's only a third of the chapters. There's 29 chapters when you include the conclusion. I think this book reads very much like a devotional.
Yeah.
It can be done one a day. I really recommend like one a week. Take your time, or one every couple of days. But those are all chapters that I think can relate.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? I haven't made that comparison with you before until right now, about like the parallel of, wow, your book isn't just it doesn't just free people up in the spiritual, which is the most important in our opinion, just based on our faith, but there's things that keep us from being able to fully show up. I mean, gosh,
Yeah.
the attention seeking, the copying.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that?
So I think, for me, the reason why I have zero issue promoting this book to anybody, whether they're of the Christian faith or not, is because this is stuff that we all deal with.
Yep.
And so when I said I became the book, I meant it. So being able to show up and be present um, for myself and my platform has a lot to do. My authentic self has a lot to do with the working through all of these things. We talk about approval addiction, which is, hiding in plain sight the fear of man. What is going to be everybody else's opinion? Even bitterness, like chapter 1, bitterness, or envy, jealousy, kind of go hand in hand in this. Like, it was hard for me to see all these authors that had these platforms that were kind of built in for them, and that's frustrating for me, because it's like, gosh, like, the world isn't going to see me because, and I think it comes down to the root of, like, my dad was not in my life. So abandonment, you didn't say that one, but that's in there, because it's like, my dad abandoned me. So, he didn't have a platform for me to jump off of. So no one knows my name or who I am. Like, that actually, like, get deep here, like, oh, Paige, that's a lot. Well, like, that actually affected me. That
Yeah.
affected me big time.
Yep.
And it kept me from, like, does my book even matter? Does what I have to say even matter? And I had to push past that in order to get this book out. Now you've got 1,500 plus women who've read this book. I love the Roots in a Woman because it's cool, because it'll be like, oh, today 5 people bought that book. You know what that means? A person read it and they loved it, so they wanted to buy it for 5 friends. Or it's a group of 5 ladies that are going to read it and do a book club together because they wanted to go on the journey together. And it's like, it's just like, all of what I dealt with, I had to heal from, so that this message could get out, and so that it would be effective. But, like, if I wouldn't have dealt with those things, I just wouldn't have, how many people haven't written a book because they're like, everybody writes a book.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying everybody should, but if you know that you're supposed to and you don't because of that, you got to think about that kind of stuff. So, all of these roots, like being able to heal in these areas, and just like being rechecked, like going back and reading the book. When I was reading it for my audiobook, it's like, I mean, like, feeling like, okay, am I still good here? Or do I need to kind of sit with this a little bit more and do some deeper healing? So, yeah, like, just being able to, like, love who you are and the message that you bring to the table is really important.
Wow. Gosh, I had the thought this morning that I love the way that social society and this membership community is structured. But there are a lot of membership groups like this out there. But what the actual, I think what actual gives people actual success, not monetarily, but like internally, is when they can just show up in their business without the fear of what other people think.
Right.
They can just flow. They feel good about being in business for themselves. It's not a job.
Yeah.
There are aspects that are hard work, but that to me is where it's like, I feel like that's the need. And you do see that. You see that in the entrepreneur, especially in the online business world. You see like life coaching groups or business coaching programs, which are necessary. But I even had the thought this morning, like, gosh, God, are you asking me to take things deeper outside of social society? Is there something else that you're wanting me? Because I'm preparing for our conversation today. And because I've really been hitting on like, okay, social media is not that freaking hard to figure out. Okay. You create content, you post it to these platforms. If you know who your audience is and you know your messaging, then create content based on that. You might have some technical training that you need. You might have some graphic training you need. Okay. Those are all high level things, like just the surface level things. But what keeps people from actually doing those things is this stuff.
Yeah.
The deeper stuff, the stuff
Right.
that's hard for people to work through. And so I'm over there getting ready and I'm like, Lord, am I supposed to do something with this? I know I'm going to have a conversation with Paige about it. Is Paige supposed to do this with me? We do this in our other business together. We've worked through deep rooted issues with people that keep them from fully stepping into their one of their many purposes in life and their calling. So it's like, it's just an interesting thing because social media can be so much of all the buttons you push and the way that things look, but at the end of the day, you're not going to want to sit down and create content if you're conflicted about, is someone actually going to get value from this post? Is what I'm saying even going to matter?
Right.
But you, even in your story, you just did it. And now you're seeing the benefit of that. Imagine if you would have listened. And I even challenge this group, like, are you listening? Have you not posted in a couple of weeks because you're concerned about if it's going to be good or not? Is it the right timing or not? Is it going to connect with your audience? Just post the dang thing.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, if you haven't posted it because you're listening to that voice, first, like check and make sure you're doing yourself justice, because you might be posting content that isn't really true to you or doesn't give enough of yourself. And that's why it just feels like whatever, it's silly or whatever. So check that, right? That might be why you're hesitating. So then go deeper, give more of yourself, be more true to yourself and real to yourself, and then make sure that you're not letting doubt creep in. If you know this is you, this is like, this is who you want to present yourself to be, and it might be a little bit more intense, a little deeper, a little bit more bold, a little bit more passionate, a little bit more of you, and less, like mix in the playful stuff for sure. I think you need to do that. But if you're not giving any of you, then that might be why it's like, an exercise of futility, because then you're just playing a game and you're a part of the machine again. So it's like, check yourself on that. But like the deeper stuff for sure, it's like, yeah, you got to do that work. I think mentally you're just being prepared. I think we're going to do another event, so like a big women's event. And so like, why are people hesitating in their businesses, and why are people hesitating in presenting themselves to the world? You're going to find your tribe. You're going to find the people that need what you have to offer, and be patient with that, but trust in that. It's that's been huge for me.
We're asking, it's like vulnerability is kind of a buzzword.
Yeah.
But I think that's what we're encouraging people to be is vulnerable.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too, if overcoming some of these things, and being more vulnerable is something that is a struggle or you don't know where to begin, Paige has recently come up with some amazing content, specifically on her page, on her website, which the timing of it's so cool. But you've been really working on some different workbooks for audiences that you've been speaking to, but we're both beginning to see like, wow, this workbook, the Tinned workbook, which started with one audience, has now fallen into a few different networks in your life. You know, you're seeing, you just created a workbook for Sin is Finished for another speaking engagement, which is your second book. But do you want to speak to some of those resources? Because I definitely feel like this audience needs that. I know right now, specifically Social Society, does not have a resource that helps kind of dive deeper, but I know you. Let's talk about those, and then we'll kind of bring it to a close.
Yeah, so I've got a couple workbooks in there. They're going to be even more like devotional style and just workbook styles presented on my social or on my website, paigeloehr.com, under the resources. And so like there's going to be a couple different feels. Right now there will be only two, which is the Sin is Finished workbook that goes hand in hand with my book. With a book, you want to present what you have, but like as an author, you always have deeper, you always have more. There's always more you could have said on each topic, right? And so that's what that is. It's going to be a deeper dive into my book, Sin is Finished. So for those of you that like to like really, really chew on things, it goes hand in hand with that. And so it's perfect. But the Tinned workbook is great because this is for anyone. And you could be a person of faith and that's great, or you could not be. And, you know, my thing is I'm always inclusive with that. Like there's part of the content that is definitely faith-based, but it's Tinned is still an invitation to tend to yourself, to do digging in yourself, to plant the right things in yourself, and to grow yourself. So it is not anything specific to just my faith, right? This is about you and growing yourself. I just utilize my faith in everything that I do. So it's just a part of it. So, but the Tinned workbook is great because it's like 3 steps. So that could be 3 days, that could be 3 weeks or 3 months. I don't care what it is for you, however long it takes you to digest something, but there are 3 things. It's digging, planting, and growing. And that's how you tend to yourself. And I walk you through what that looks like. Now, for every single one of them, it's going to be an ongoing process, something that literally never, ever, ever is finished in your life. If you have a garden, you have to tend to it every single day. People that don't know that about gardens, you know, it's like everybody's like, oh, I need, you know, farm to table, I gotta make a garden now. It's like, dude, that's freaking hard. Like gardens are hard. They take a lot of work. You have to even be thinking about your garden in the season where it's not blooming. Okay. And so there's a tip there. But this Tinned workbook is great because even like the digging, teaching you how to dig is so huge. I want you to dig into your story. I want you to dig into your inner child. I want you to dig into those things because that person, that child, those stories are still controlling you today. You might not be showing up on your social media or in your business the way you need to because of things in your past. Do you want that to be the case, or do you want to heal? Do you want to grow? So teaching you how to do that is step 1. And then going into some other things about growing yourself, planting into yourself, speaking over yourself, affirmations, manifestation, all that kind of stuff. And so it's a 3-step workbook. It's a free resource because I just believe that I want people started on this journey. And if I can help, if I can, you know, a limitless amount of people just start that process, like that's what I want to do. So a lot more free resources are going to be available because I am coming out with more books, and I just want people to have the opportunity to get to know me and the type of content I provide without always it like, first things first, you got to give me some money, you know, like, yes, there's a need to be profitable in your business. Got it. Right. Noted. But I also like to provide that free content because, it is valuable. And it's that what you've always taught me, like, and I'm finally getting it, finally starting to figure it out. Like they've got to have a trail that they go down. It's like the clickbait, you know, okay, well, there's a free workbook. Great. I really like that free workbook. I should probably buy all of her books. Mm-hmm. That's just how it goes. That's how the world works. And so, but those workbooks are available to you. And I definitely think it's a great place to start with things.
Good. So, go ahead and give us the best places that people, and I'll be linking everything, but especially for those watching this on the replay on like YouTube, Where's the best place to connect with you on your website and social media? Where are you at the most?
I'm on Instagram the most. Hop over to Facebook here and there, but I'm on Instagram the most, and it's Paige_Loehr, and then my website, paigeloehr.com. So that's where I'm going to show up the most, be present the most, and I'm going to be interactive as well. So I like when I meet new people, get engagement from new people, because I'm going to re-engage. I'm going to support you as well. Like, that's huge for me. So
Yeah, when you DM Paige, you're DMing Paige. Okay.
yeah, actually,
That's actually who she is. So for those of you in the group here, or even, yeah, like I said, you're watching this on YouTube later, if you have comments or questions, takeaways, drop all of those below, drop those in the caption or the comment section. I will be sharing all of that with Paige, but share this too with other people, right? Share this recording, especially if it's on YouTube when you're watching this. Share this with other people, especially in the entrepreneur space, because that's why we're doing this. That's why I want guest speakers to come in. No one that I've had come in is a quote unquote guru expert, but they bring tremendous value by sharing their story and sharing that they have learned. And that's what we're all here to do in our businesses in just different ways. And so, Paige, thank you. This was so wonderful. I have notes on notes, things I'm excited to just be able to recut and share back out with anybody. So thank you again for coming.
Yes, it was awesome.
Yeah, any final thoughts? Just, you want to close this out?
Yeah, I think you all need to know that I'm in the same position as you. I may not show up on this social society. I may not show up on your calls or the group settings that you guys have, but I am very much a part of this group because I'm receiving the same help that you're receiving from Danielle. She is, has been in my corner the whole way. And like I said, her voice is always in my head. And so I just encourage you guys to keep pressing in and taking the value that you're getting here and really letting it sink in, really utilizing it. And I believe in your business. I believe in what it is that you're doing, because you wouldn't be here if you didn't think it was special, if you didn't think it was valuable. And I believe in that. When you show up for yourself and you show up for your business to a place like this where you're wanting to invest in it, that means you believe in it. And if you believe in it, I do too. So I'm excited for you and excited to see that grow. And hopefully you can find that authentic self and that place that feels right for you so that you can show up for your business. So
Awesome. Thank you, Paige.
yes.